Yo, what up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Blood Splatter Chatter, bonus blood here on a Sunday, doing another 2024 double feature. Today we're talking about Strange Darling, again for 2024, and The Substance, which, Link, I was just telling you backstage, we're at the end of the year, or maybe at the very beginning of next year, we're going to get together and do our top 10 for horror movies of the 2024, or of the year 2024. I'll be shocked if both of these aren't on my top 10. I'll just start by saying that right now. I feel like Strange Darling might be the one out of these two that is slept on because it's not, I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit harder to promote. I sure as shit haven't been getting the ads that I have been for The Substance or like Long Legs or a lot of the movies this year.
Oh yeah, and to be honest, I was doing a little quick research on the Strange Darling before the stream, and I saw that it was released at some festival like last year.
Yeah.
And the theatrical release even a few months ago was like very limited. Like it wasn't like a very widespread release. Like or maybe theaters didn't carry. It was like a timely thing, you know.
I
like
wonder. I was trying to look at what the studio was. It was done. Oh, I don't know what the fuck that means. Magenta Light Studios, but like right now, it's not streaming. It's not like on Netflix or Max. But I'm hoping I mean, obviously, it's going to go to one of those places soon. I hope it creates much more of a buzz there than it has so far. It's not like people haven't heard of it at all. Like people in horror circles have kind of heard of it, but it's I don't know. The marketing just isn't there. Like there's not like I don't know. It's just a cat and mouse thing, so it's a little harder to market than like Demi Moore, Nicolas Cage, or even like Late Night with the Devil. It's less clear just from like a poster what the movie's going to be about.
And you know, I remember seeing the trailer, and the trailer is intriguing, but like you said, it's like it kind of comes off as like your average cat and mouse. You've seen this done before, but you haven't really seen it done like this. But from the trailer, you wouldn't gather that. You know, it kind of just comes off as another chase movie.
Is it implied in and this will be the first one we'll get into, so we'll be jumping into Strange Darling first. And one of the big things about the movie is that it's told linearly. It's told out of order, non-sequentially. Is it implied in the trailer that they're going to do that at all? I don't know how you would do that.
No, the trailer is just like more or less straight. Like even the little twist, you know, it's not implied in. It's not implied in the trailer. Just like really, I don't know. I don't really. I think it is to the trailer. It comes down to the trailer. But like you said, how do you really spin this movie without giving it away?
This female running and this guy chasing her. He's titled as the demon and she's the lady. So it's kind of implied from the get-go that he's the bad guy, clearly, and she's the good guy, you know, on the run from this dude. And then, you know, things get a little messier as it goes. But the big thing about it is we find out like this is chapter 3. And then it's going to go back. It tells us, I think, chapter 5, then 2, then 4, then 1, then 6. So it's doing all this. And it's like, to me, it felt like, did you get Tarantino vibes big time from that? Like it felt like a Pulp Fiction or even like what he did with Hateful Eight. I feel like was done kind of like that.
Yeah, and you know, I almost wonder now that you say that, like bringing up the non-sequential order of it is like, would it have been as an exciting movie without them playing with the you know, jumping from chapter to chapter?
They went the studio behind because this was, I should have said this, directed and written by J.T. Mollner. The studio went behind his back and hired an outside editor and made a linear cut of the film and then showed it to audiences, or actually they showed the non-linear cut to audiences, and it got such a good reaction. They're like, okay, never mind, we were wrong.
They did it, you know, it is gimmicky, but it's stylish, very stylish as well.
So Rogue is saying both oddity and Strange Darling had no big promotion. That's true. And both are up
Yeah.
there for top of the year. I feel like I was hearing more rumblings about Oddity just on like podcasts that I listened to and just seeing it on Instagram, partially because
Yeah.
it was on Shutter. It was a wider release that way, a more accessible release. And like I said, Strange Darling, you have to pay for it right now. It's not out
Mm-hmm.
like where it's going to be. Rogue saying, I thought different act and order was going to be gimmicky at first, but they handled it really well. I did too.
Yeah.
I was like, well, let's just see. But what? Yeah, I didn't really answer your question because I got distracted by the internet. But I don't think it would have been nearly as good. I think a
Yep.
huge part of my like enjoyment from the movie was that, and then just playing with your expectations. And what do you think as far as if they did a linear cut?
Oh no, yeah, I think it would have been just your. I think a big appeal of this movie is how the non-sequential order, that
Mm,
gives it, because we open up this movie with a bang, so it's like the, if it would have gone in linear order, it would have been kind of boring, to be honest.
right,
Like you could, like we're with some how these chapters are set up, out of order. At the end of some of these chapters, you're like, oh shit, how did she
right,
get out of that? If this is, if we're at this point already, or how did they get out of this? So
totally.
it makes it exciting. And I was reading because I was watching a video of this on YouTube, just
Mm,
research purposes, and someone's comment had said like it's a good first watch, but they don't see it being as enthralling on the second watch. And I gotta disagree. I watched this film 3 times now, and I
oh
think
wow,
it's the first watch is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
there's still a lot there. The second watch, like just subtle things that you can pick up. Like what was I thinking of? I'll get back to it, but I gotta disagree. Like, yeah, it is very exciting the first time, but the
Mm-hmm.
second watch is just as good because and with that you can because there's some amazing performance. Like the whole movie's
Yeah.
got performances down to the side characters, side note characters.
Mm-hmm.
Even with that, shit, but even if they didn't have great side characters between the two of them, like oh girl is amazing,
It's
but
crazy.
the demon dude brought his, I got, it's crazy because I always recognize him as like the stoner kid from Freddy,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th remake, and
Oh
or not
wait.
Elm Street, my bad.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was thinking. And I fucking hate him in that.
He's a,
Personally,
yeah, he's
I hate that movie, and he's just a total bummer throughout the entire Freddy remake. But he's amazing in this. Amazing, I think.
yep, yep.
He's a
I know
guy.
it.
I'll say everybody, like all the big three names from this: J.T. Mollner, the director, uh,
Mhm.
Willa Fitzgerald, the lead female in the movie, the lady, and then him, Kyle Gallner. Super excited for anything they're going to do in the future.
Oh
She,
yeah.
she played. She was the lead in the first season of the Scream TV show.
Have you seen that? I
Yeah,
meant to.
I
Okay.
thought it was
Is that
pretty good, but it's not the type of thing that if you told me like, "Hey, the lead from season one of Scream is in this movie," I would have been like, "Oh, that's not a good sign." I would think, but I thought she was maybe even better than him, and I thought he was great. And he's a guy that I do not like going into this movie, like just from that Nightmare on Elm Street remake. He was also in Haunting in Connecticut. He's in Smile 1 and 2, and
Yep.
I feel like he's trying to
Ocean 2 as well.
change his yeah, which I haven't seen yet. And he's also like the in Scream 5, the kind of like douchebag guy that's at the bar that gets stabbed in the neck outside of his car. Like
Yes.
he's that guy.
That okay, because when I looked up I was like, he was on Scream. I was like, damn shame. Like this came out like two years ago, and I can't remember
Right.
his scene.
Yeah,
Okay, he
it's not much. He's not,
okay,
but I feel like that was part of him trying to change his image to try to be
yeah,
like, look, I can be kind of a badass. And he's totally right.
oh
Not
yeah,
just that, but he's like, I can see this guy being the lead, like action star. Like, I don't know.
yes.
Like, I think his potential is way the fuck up here. He could be
This
like
role,
a sex symbol, like after seeing him in this movie. Like this guy could be
bro.
huge.
I gotta fully agree with you because it's like seeing him in Nightmare on Elm Street, he plays like that cliche stoner with the hair, and he's
Mhm.
like very douchey and annoying, obnoxious. And here he said he's like, bro, like we just got done talking about what was it, Tom Atkinson and on the season of The Witch,
Atkins minus the sun.
Atkins. He's got the stash, but this is a perfect example of that stash
Right.
work. My man's
Right.
is. I could totally see him being the lead based off that. This is. I feel like I haven't seen him in a lot of his other movies. I've seen him in a few things, but I
Mhm.
gotta say, this is probably his strongest role. Like I could definitely see him being a lead or being like an action star. Like from what he was in Nightmare on Elm Street, like that's
Right.
crazy,
Right.
but I have to see it.
Hell yeah. No, yeah. He, like I said, like I saw him leading up to it. I'm like, oh no, I'm not excited about this. The other guy, and I wonder, you're the type that might know this dude by name. Most wouldn't, but maybe you would. Do you know who Giovanni Ribisi is? If I'm saying that right?
Yes,
You know who
sir.
that is? Okay, for people that don't know, what would you say is his most like, oh, this is the guy. He's the bad guy from Avatar that isn't the
Yes.
guy from Don't Breathe. He's like the guy on the business section in
Why
Avatar.
am
He's
I?
in My Name Is Earl. Yeah, because he's just one of those guys that you see a lot. But anyway, the reason why I bring him up, he's this fucking cinematographer for this movie. What a
Blew me
weird
away.
thing, what a cool thing to do for a recognizable actor like that. Clearly, he just like loves it and is like, you know
Hmm.
what, I'm gonna try my hand at being the cinematographer, and it's fire.
Knocked it
And
out the park, bro. You know what? It's a shame I didn't look up. I'm drawing a blank. I know I've seen Giovanni Ribisi in a bunch of shit. Boiler Room's a great one, but I
mhm.
can't think of anything else he's been in right now. But he's like you said, he's been in so much shit. Um, I don't know if is this the first film he's been the
Yeah,
cinematographer?
I
Wow.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, right. I know, dude. Like clearly, he's been talking to the right people when he's on set and hanging out with the right people because it's a
Definitely take
gorgeous movie. Like
Oh
right off
yeah.
the bat, like I guess the way JT Mollner originally like came up with the idea was just that opening scene, just the way it's like her running in slow motion, and
So
just like the specific look of it and like the vibe is what he wanted to create. But like I guess they shot for a week and then the studio looked at the dailies and were like, we do not like this at all. They're like, we want to recast the female. They didn't like her. What's her name?
wow.
Willa Fitzgerald. They wanted to get rid of her. They didn't like the look of it. They didn't like the style. They hated everything he was doing, and they shut down production for a week. And that's when they also said, like, we wanted to do this linear. And he was either he ended up just being like, fuck it, we're doing it exactly the way I want to do it, or we're not doing it at all. Stuck to his guns. And then even through the whole process, like they were gonna do that secret cut that I mentioned before behind his back and just release it that way.
Such
So
shady business, bro. Like,
yeah, right. But when you're talking about millions of dollars, but the thing is, critically, it's doing really, really well. It's got like a
yeah,
95% on Rotten Tomato out of like over 100 reviews. Yeah, it's crushing Rotten Tomatoes. It's got a 7.1 on IMDb, which is phenomenal for a movie
yeah,
like this. But
yep.
it's had a $10 million budget. And from what I saw, you can never trust these numbers, but it's only made around 4 million. So that's why I'm saying I really hope this can do well. I'm hoping it's doing really well right now on rental, or that
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like movies like this. That's why you don't get movies like this these days. You got to be more like, can we slap a fucking action hero in there,
Yeah.
or a
Maybe
superhero?
some
I mean,
gimmick.
yeah,
Yeah, more recognizable face. Let's we don't want the audiences getting confused if it jumps from point A to point C.
right,
What about B? Have some faith in us, movie studios. Jeez.
dude. My
But
favorite part. Oh no, go ahead.
no, I'm just gonna say shout out to Giovanni Ribisi because you would like you said it can't be overstated or understated how gorgeous this film is.
Yeah,
Oh, by the way, did you get any like Texas Chainsaw vibes at the beginning, like with the opening saying
yeah.
this is like
Oh
stuff?
yeah, totally. Anytime that there's like this is a true story based on real events, like yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking Texas Chainsaw right away. The other like, were you thinking Tarantino like while watching this? Because
Yes.
once I thought that, I couldn't get it out of my head, and even some of the performances, and like it's very different in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's like Tarantino, but with they'll have these long drawn out scenes, but it's not as dialogue heavy. There's a
Yes.
lot, and this to me, I think this is kind of a downside. Like my one ding on the movie, and I would kind of say like my second watch wasn't as good as my first as well. But
Right.
part of that is like there's a lot of like it's very artsy. So there's a
Hmm.
lot of like the camera just lingering on her face and it's slowly zooming in, which I loved all that the first time. And the second time, when you know everything, you're kind of like, come on, zoom in a little bit faster. Like, we can
Yeah.
move on. But I still really enjoyed the second watch. So it's not like I wouldn't say it was like a big drop off at all, but like I
Yeah.
can understand that being an issue.
Yeah. I sometimes I'm a little biased when I love things, so I would like look for reasons to like it. The second watch, even though the excitement's gone, I was like, okay, they're lingering on her face because there's deep. I've caught certain things like
Right.
they're trying to showcase
Why are they
subtle.
lingering on her face? Yeah.
Yeah. And for that, there's a lot of clearly she's a woman with psychosis. and it gets worse throughout the film. I think like they do certain lingering points after a certain part in the film because she's kind of had head injury at a certain point, so maybe she's
Right.
got a concussion, and maybe that's
Right. The
exaggerating.
looks on her face, like she can look so like fucking demented. Yeah, just like there Rogue saying he had that Sneaky Pete show for a few years. I never seen that.
What is?
Him
Oh,
saying yes.
Giovanni. Yes. Yep.
Oh,
Brian
okay, yeah,
Cranston.
Giovanni. Okay, I was thinking of the other guy. What's his name?
No, yeah, go rent
Gal.
this. This is so worth it. Rogue's right.
What up, Chill? What up,
Chill.
brother? Appreciate you being here. Yeah, I mean that was my biggest takeaway is their performances. But I think my favorite, for whatever reason, the scene, I think it was chapter 1, like when they're just sitting in the car. There's something about like the ease and like how relaxed they are. And like it's another thing that kind of made me think of Tarantino and like the 90s in general. There's like something about the pace of a 90s movie where it's like a movie like Friday is the perfect example. We're just chilling.
Just
There's
a day in the life.
nothing to do. We don't have anywhere to go. Nobody's in a rush. It just feels different than like the
Yeah.
present feels. They're so chill. And like especially her, there's just these certain it's all lit in that blue from the light of the hotel. I loved it.
Bro, I got to speak on the lighting. That I love that particular scene in general you're just speaking on because, like you said, it's very relaxed, very mellow. They're just getting to know each other. This is very side note. This is a movie of kind of warning you on hookup culture and the dangers of it. But they're getting to know each other somewhat, and they're very chill, having fun, good rapport. But then it's like after shit kind of hits the fan a little later on in the film, and she's drugged him. She goes to the bathroom, right? And she's like, if you can still get it up in like 5 minutes when I come out, then we'll think about it. But she goes in the bathroom and it's all fucking red.
Yeah.
And that's when she like snaps and she becomes like the killer. So I thought that usage of lighting with like the
Totally.
red insinuating the fury, the rage, and then like the blue where it was very subdued, very chill, just smoking.
Well, first of all, I was going to ask, like, the fact that it opens up and it says this entire film was shot on 35 millimeter. I was like, okay, that's it's kind of a weird thing to tell us, but right away it's black and white, and you can see the graininess, and there's this really soft focus where it's like a shallow depth of field. So it's like you know what I mean? Where like this is in focus, but right behind it isn't.
Yeah.
And like what I was gonna say, like right off the bat, as soon as it stops being black and white, you can tell it's on film. There's something about like the reds, especially,
so rich.
are over. They're like blown out in a way where you lose all the detail. Like her car is red, and you don't really see the detail. Like his flannel shirt is red, and all those really bright spots. There's no detail, and it like you could say like that's a negative, but it's cool. It just like looks old, and it's like part of the style, and it's I don't know. I love the look.
No, yeah, I got, I was gonna say, that did kind of throw me off at the beginning, but as soon as they kind of cut to the contrast with color, I'm like, you can see like digital is great, and they're doing, they can make. There's just something about film, that they cannot translate to digital at all. Like, and I love, 28 Days Later. One of my favorites is a digital film. I think that's a unique digital film.
Yeah,
I definitely be due for it needs an upgrade or something, a facelift,
From what I've understood, you can't do it. It's because it was one of the first digital films that was ever made 28
right.
days later. So they can't like it's impossible to do a 4K upgrade.
Wow.
Like it's for whatever reason the technology doesn't. Maybe they could like AI could do it, but I think it just is what it is, and it's almost like a timestamp. It's like there's a couple years where movies look like this and they never look like it again. Someone went and got an old fucking camera.
But no, the film, even like the slow motion of her running, that's such I don't know what it is about that shot and slow mo, and the colors of the field and the grass behind her is very like the golden, like like you said, there's this this hue to the colors that is very rich. And makes it not like defined, but just very visually appealing to look at.
Right. And just like it, it's kind of like has a nostalgia attached to it too. Chill saying, I don't like new generation movies, but this movie has the best bathroom horror scene since the fucking 80s. Why am I tripping? What happens in the bathroom? I remember her sitting in there.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't think anything happens in the bathroom. Maybe something does that I forget about. Chill.
No,
Try to remind me. What I was going to ask you, what you made me think of with her sitting in the bathroom. There's a couple of times, and also right before that, she's like sitting there looking at him. Things seem to be going okay. Then all of a sudden, there's like like some kind of like a flash that we see something really quick. She sees something, and then all of a sudden she changes, and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to kill you now." And she kind of does that with the cop at the end of the movie. I couldn't tell.
Breaking Bad.
It was too quick for me to like pause it or anything. Like, do you know? It was just like her having a moment of like, okay, now I'm gone crazy, or could you tell what was going on?
So that's what I was saying, like with the psychosis. Like I think I clearly she had something wrong with her. Oh,
He's
the
talking about
substance.
the
Oh,
subs. Yeah, that makes way
yes.
more sense with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bathroom scene. Yeah,
Absolutely.
gotcha, chill.
Definitely agree with that. But I think at that point in the film, she, she already had a psychosis, so there's something wrong with her. But when he clocked her in the head, she had, enough to get bandage and stuff. So she had a concussion. That's what I believe. And sometimes concussions can make people act a little
Right.
unchecked, make them act a
Little
little.
squirrely.
Yes, and I think that was her. She was just kind of snapped. She been through a lot. Her ear blown off. Like she's going through. Even though she's a crazy bitch, she'd been through some trauma herself at that point.
Mhm.
So I think she was. It was really she was just unhinged at that point. Kind of had a concussion. She already had that psychosis to deal with, and it was just because I was looking for like any like a trigger, but it was
Yeah.
really she just kind of was just sitting there, and it was just like
Yeah. It's
same
just
thing
like
with the. Oh,
no, I was just saying, yeah, exactly that. It's just like I wonder if like someone has paused it at that exact moment and seen what you see. Because it's just such a short little time. I
yeah.
mean, I didn't even try to pause it because I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to get that. But how about the
She did
fucking
say,
I was gonna say, how about
sorry.
the hippies? How
Oh, loved him, bro. What? I wish we could have spent more time with them,
I know.
but I guess that's a testament to like the writing or the actors because it was like that few minutes we get with them, like putting the puzzle pieces together and making their
Yeah.
breakfast was like really enjoyable.
It's the
And
best looking food like ever on TV. Like these hippie, like they look too healthy to be eating that meal. Did you pick up on? I'm almost positive it's implied that they're drinking mushroom tea. Like they're tripping on mushrooms while that's going on. At first, they're just sitting
that
there
makes sense.
sipping on their tea and laughing at it, just kind of like
Giggling.
giggling while they're eating or drinking their tea.
That makes a lot of sense because I was like, okay, that because I didn't pick up on that, but that makes sense because I was like, there's the wife. There was something, her response. I was like, there's something very. She reminded me of the daughter in Hannah in 28 Days Later. Remember at the end where she's running through the mansion because
Yeah,
she's high and she's just kind of aloof. That's how the wife kind of reminded me of with her
he,
response to her husband and shit.
she killed us. She killed us. She says at the end. She's like, "What?" And even when she's like, "Why don't you put your hands up so we all feel more comfortable?" And she's
She's
just
just
so
very
weird.
romantic.
But it's like that's why she's tripping on psychedelic mushrooms. It's like, yeah, I bet
That's fucked up.
that's
Yeah,
one thing
man.
that's kind of interesting about it. If I remember correctly, that's the second like thing we see. It's like chapter 4 or 5 or whatever. But
Yeah.
the second thing we see is them. We're meeting the hippies. And when he shows up, when the demon shows up, the lady is gone and the guy is dead already. So it's pretty you can put it together pretty quickly of what the twist in the movie is. And I think that's one like I said, most people are loving the movie. The only negative things I've seen are people being like, "Oh, they say that there's a big twist and you could tell right off the bat." If you go into the movie knowing that there's a big twist, it's not
Of
that hard.
course.
That's when it's pretty
Right.
easy. That's the problem. If you go
Right.
in not knowing at all, then I think the twist does work pretty good. But I kind of
Because
knew what was going on from the get go, so I had a hard time judging when would you figure out like what's going on, and that could be the
so
first moment you do.
no, that's a good point. I knew going into the movie there was a twist. So if like if subconsciously we're training, we're
Mhm.
looking for subtle things to kind of pinpoint, even if we don't realize it. But I think for an average viewer who's going into this, they would be totally surprised because they set it up so well. Because we don't find out that until 45 minutes in the movie that
Yeah,
she's the one who's in the wrong. So it's like when they show the movie of him looking in the house, like you could insinuate, like you could think that he's just this crazy bastard who's trying to hunt down his final kill. These old people helped her. He's like, fuck
right,
you, old people. Like he just did what he had to do to try to find the girl. Like these are old people who took her in. They're trying to hide her. You
right.
know, it could easily be insinuated from that because there's
So
nothing. You don't
it,
really. Sorry.
I was gonna say it could also be like what she's wearing, which that's one of my favorite parts of the movie too. She's wearing like this plain red jumpsuit, and then we see her go to like a hotel later on,
Mm-hmm.
and so we see a lady wearing that. So like I love that. That made me think of
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction too, with
Yeah.
Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson wearing those like funny clothes that they get from Tarantino later on.
The,
You know what I mean? Like that really reminded me of that. But oh, where the fuck was I going with that? Oh, what I was gonna say is you could right off the bat think like, oh, she's a prisoner that escaped and
yep.
he's hunting her down because she kind of looks like that's prison garb, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? That's what I thought it was, to be honest, initially, because it's orange, isn't it? The what she's wearing, like an
Oh
orange.
yeah, maybe it's like to me, I saw it as like a bright red, but it could be kind of orange. Like prison garb is orange, but I feel like hers was red.
No, it
I've
was
never
red
had
because
mushroom tea, by the way, chill. I heard that too. Slow to kick in, and it lasts a little bit longer, and it lets you down like a gentle cloud. Mushroom tea.
that's what I would prefer that. I'm not gonna lie. I've had a bad trip
I've had a lot of
experimenting,
bad trips, dude.
bro. Did you felt like you were gonna die as well? Like,
Well, part of what happens when you trip is your ego dies, and it feels like you're
mm,
dying. So you're like, no, you
where
don't
am I going?
fucking die. And it's like, no, that's the last thing you just gotta let it die. Ride the wave, man.
Right.
Ride the fucking wave.
I'm gonna try that though, mushroom tea.
Rogue says context is everything. They really
Yes.
flip it for the viewer, which is a cool experience. I need to do a rewatch for a second viewing. It's definitely worth it.
I gotta, but that's another thing I love about the message of the movie is like context. Like, it's like there's always this side, the other side, and the truth in between.
Mhm.
Like, so it makes you really think. Like, don't for people. There are some gullible people out here. Like, don't take things for face value all the time. Do some research. Don't always take what's being told to you as the
Right.
word. Like because there's more to stuff.
For sure,
But I
dude.
love that message.
Before, because I want to get into the ending in a minute, but you had me thinking of the music for a second. It's fucking fire, both these. We'll get into the substance in a moment or a few moments. We'll talk about that. But the music in this one, it goes from this really like dum 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 dum, like really like soft, like almost like an
Yes.
Italian feel, light piano, and like these really beautiful vocals. And they're like strange, darling, just like
Hmm.
weird shit. Like I love shit like that. To this like dun dun, like industrial fucking guitar, super heavy reverb, and like just forever sustain, like really cool. Like the
Yeah.
the blend of music, the sound design was fire as fuck.
What? I'm blinking on it now, but I was like, oh, fucking Halloween. I forget the name of the song, but they did it. They used it a lot in Rob Zombie's Halloween.
I'm trying to think. I wish I knew.
Sh-
There's a
she
lot of
remember?
good music. Yeah.
No, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. It ends with something like "The Devil You Know," or
Better the devil you know than the one you don't, or something. I love that part. That was actually a really cool scene as well. But just visually, because like how the contrast of the colors slowly just goes
yeah,
to the shades of gray and then the black and white.
right.
That's
Back to
another
the beginning,
scene.
which the beginning was black and white.
Oh
Now the end
shit,
is.
yeah. Yo,
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that until now. Good eye. But I was gonna say, even with that scene, like I think that just reinforces kind of how she lost her shit, is because remember, she's sitting there after the lady picks her up and she just has like a little flash and she just decides to try to pull the gun out on the lady and the lady catches her ass and pops her.
Yeah.
But at that point, that's why I was like, okay, so because before I was like, is there some visual cue that's letting us know where she's snapped? And I don't think
Yeah.
there is. I just think
Mm.
it's just she's lost her shit and that's just the ramification of her
It's just
losing her shit.
That's just how it happens. Like every now and then.
Yeah,
Do you think that there was a moment where she wasn't gonna kill the guy? Like, do you think it was set from the get go, or do you think like I don't know? Because at one point she like kind of falls in love with him, and then she
yeah.
says things just got really complicated, and then it goes to a different chapter as they start making out. Is she thinking like, "Fuck, now I love you, and I'm still gonna have to kill you"? That's what I took.
Yeah, because there was that right before she jumped into the kill scene. She was like looking at him, staring at him. He's like, "What? Do I have like something on my face?" And
Yeah,
she like shook her head, like she was lost in a daze. You could tell she was deep thinking. And I think she really was weighing or battling her demon, like
hmm
fighting that voice. Like I don't need to kill him, and the voice is probably telling her, "Yeah, he's here for a reason. He's a piece of like everybody else. He's a demon.
right. Which
Um,
She said I had to rewind it because I couldn't tell what she said, but she said at one point she's like, sometimes I don't see humans, I
I see
just see
demons.
devils.
Yeah, yep,
So maybe
devils.
that's
Yeah.
what it is. Like something happens all of a sudden, like she sees people as devils. I guess that probably is it.
Oh, man, this is so random. But speaking of the demon, the dude who plays him, he was actually I forgot all about this movie. I don't know why I watched it, but it's called The Passenger. It came out last year, and he plays like he's essentially playing her role in that movie.
Hmm.
Not verbatim, but he's playing like an unhinged psycho dude. And it's just like I don't know how I forgot about that shit. Like,
Hmm.
because as soon as I looked it up, I was reading about it, I was like The Passenger. I was like, oh shit, yeah, he was in that. He was really good. Like you said, in the last 2 years, my man's has done a lot of going through a lot to really revamp how he's looked at as an actor, and
Totally.
I really respect that.
No, me too,
He's
man. Jennifer's Body, he was also in. Okay, this is the movie I thought you were talking about. The Passenger. I haven't
yes,
seen it, but I remember seeing that image a lot. I wanted to say something. Oh, two things. First, just I love the if you're questioning up until this part, like, is she the killer? Is he the killer? Then they have that moment where he's choking the shit out of her and he ties her up, and we find out later, like, oh, it flashes back within the flashback. Within the chapter, there's a flashback, which is cool too. And then we find out, like, no, she asked him beforehand, like, switch and like, let's play
she's
like
just
this.
really kinky.
There's like, yeah, kinky kind of rape fantasy bit. So at that point, you're thinking, oh, okay, never mind. It definitely is him. He is the killer. And then I think
Yeah,
pretty soon after that is when they kind of
kind of do the
they
reveal.
reveal that it is her all along. It's really I love that bit.
Yeah, that first watch, bro. Like even how it opens, I love that how because he's in the car and she's like, you don't even see her, just see her talking, and like it's an interview. She's like, are you a serial killer? And he kind of looks at the camera. He's looking at her, but he's looking at the camera, and like it cuts to him, like you said, strangling. You're like, oh shit,
Right.
Then cuts to her fucking running for her life. So you're like, I think the film does quite a great in like if you like you said, if you go into this not knowing anything, I think that's the best way to
Totally.
experience it
Yeah.
even if you know there's a reveal coming, that's I think what you're gonna kind of lessen the experience that you would get out of this film. Like it's a
100%.
great film, but
Because there's only two, like it's either him or it's her.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
not like a big mystery. So if you know there's a twist, you're probably gonna get it. But there's enough there, like that moment, to like, oh, okay, shit, maybe not. Like I knew that there was. I feel like I knew it going into the movie, but I still like it had me like questioning whether I was right the whole time.
right, yes,
The other bit when she actually does go out and drag him back in, and she drops the taser and she has to open the door back up and grab the taser, just visually that was. And another thing that just reminds me of Tarantino, there's this fucking scene in Pulp Fiction where it's when Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson are talking about the foot massage,
mm,
and they're waiting outside the door. They're like, wait a minute, it's not time yet. And they just walk down the hallway and the camera stays there at the door. And like I always think of that, like I saw in a commentary, like the camera is patiently waiting for them to get down with the conversation. It's staying where the action is. So then when they get done, it comes back like, all right, we've been waiting this whole time.
right,
And
yeah,
moments like that, like I'm just like, wait, she's gonna come back and get this taser. And like she finally does. It's like, yes, like I love shit like that. And
that
Tarantino didn't invent it. I've seen that in Scorsese movies and shit, you know what I mean? But
the certain directors refine shit. I think Tarantino certainly refined that technique. Like
right,
Zack Snyder, he didn't invent slow motion. Neither did Michael Bay, but they
right.
certainly refined those
They
shits. Yeah.
made they made moments like that iconic. They
Yes.
did it, but they did it better in a way that people now think of them when they see shit like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. Chill saying, E, you're a responsible person. I might have missed why he's a responsible person, but I know that he is. Let's just move on. Why you didn't tell me you shouldn't buy my kids Slim and immediately watch the 1980s The Blob movie. I think I fucked that up. Why you didn't tell me you shouldn't buy my kids Slim and immediately watch the 80s Blob movie. Completely not
Slim
your
fat.
fault. Horrible dad. We have a kid die in that. I think that's why he's talking about it. Bum. All right, okay, last thing I wanted to hit before we rate this bad boy. I looking through Rotten Tomatoes, like damn, like I said, 95%. Reading some of the reviews, and it's mostly all the good things that we've been saying about the movie. Most people seem to enjoy it, and then there's one that's like 0 stars, blah blah blah, misogynist piece of shit. So I ended up reading this guy's article. I was just kind of curious, and then on the rewatch, I'm like, okay, I guess I get where he's going with it. The whole movie, we're not the whole movie, but a big chunk of what this movie is like you alluded to earlier. It's like there's a female and a male. It's a one night stand. They're going to go to this hotel room together. And she's like, I am, possibly risking my life right now. Like that's what a woman goes through every time they go alone with a stranger for casual sex. And the dude's like, I never thought of it like that. She's like, of course not. You're a man. So that's part of the theme, right?
I mean, but at the same time, it's like dudes are in danger. I mean, hookup culture in general is, I think, dangerous on both sides because while women are in danger, obviously, men get set up like this.
Right.
They think they're talking to a chick that wants to see him. They go over to some house. Maybe she's got people waiting on them. I don't know anyone this has happened to, but I know that stories out there.
Right.
This
It
is
can happen.
yeah.
Right. Or it could just something can get exaggerated. And just like once you're accused of rape, you're a rapist.
Yeah,
That's just
it's
how
a
it is.
hard.
So there is that too. And then again, that's not something that ever crosses my mind or would have crossed my mind when I was single. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And maybe that's a good thing. But the point is, or maybe it's a bad thing. Whatever makes me sound like less of a piece of shit, that's what I think. But at the end of the movie, she ends up these two cops show up. She kills him, which I kind of don't like. That's kind of, we can get back to that, but I kind of don't like he kind of unceremoniously is killed. He's out of the movie. It's like, what the fuck? And now we're dealing with these cops. And there's a male cop, an older male cop, and a young female cop. This young female cop is a fucking idiot. And all the things she's saying are wrong. And she's very much on the side of you're not listening to me because I'm a woman. And the older cop is like, I don't give a fuck if you're a woman. This is protocol. Quit thinking about weird shit that doesn't matter. So I think that this is what this guy's problem was. This guy is very much on the hyper woke end of things, where you must look at everything through that spectrum, and you can never criticize anybody that's not a cis male. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. It is kind of weird where at the end you've got this female making all these terrible decisions and kind of like, I don't know. I guess I don't know what to make of that. I get the guy's point, but I don't know exactly what the filmmaker's total message is when it comes to like the battle of the genders or shit like that.
I think he was just trying to show, like I said, don't, like, a lot of people they've been labeled as this, so without even doing research, like, well, they're labeled as that, so that must make it so, without doing their own due diligence.
She's a woman. She's cuffed up. She must be the victim.
Yeah, or even if in the cop stance, I mean, they play both sides, because I definitely see that. But even the cop stance, like, he's doing that's my buddy thing, so I'm gonna, even though he was following protocol, he was being logical about it. Some people could give, well, he, that's one of my bros. I don't care what he did. I'm gonna make sure he's okay for, like.
Right.
So I think it's just trying to show, like, they're always look into something. Don't take anything at face value, until you know all the facts.
Which I think this message 15, 20 years ago is like, oh yeah, no, that's a solid message. But now there's a lot of people like, whoa, that was one thing. Like when I got into reviewing X-Men comics, I noticed real quick, was like, oh, like a lot of people, especially in the X-Men fandom and people that are reviewing X-Men comics, you couldn't criticize anybody like a female writer, off limits. We can't criticize them. It's like, get the fuck out of here. That's a huge part of like the culture right now. And I feel like it's fading away, but I feel like this is maybe a comment on that. And that's what that dude didn't like.
Not to get too deeply into it, but I think that's why Teenie Howard kept a job at the X office for so long, is because no one would criticize her work when they needed to.
Ding, 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 ding. That's the name I was thinking of.
That's for another time. But no, I really do think, like, he wasn't, the filmmaker wasn't like playing. I think it was more misogynistic than it. I think it was showing both sides, like, because obviously it implied the dude, it kind of made me think about his backstory, because after all that happened, he called up his partners like, yo, I'm in some shit, like implying that he's maybe not done anything like this before, but he's been in some questionable, shady shit.
He's been in trouble. He's like, I'm in some trouble. He says it as a man that's been in trouble before. And then she at one point says, do you need to call your sponsor? Like she kind of figured out that he's had substance abuse problems in the past, and the look on his face, like, yep, like definitely nailed it. And he's a cop, which I don't know what, like she seemed to think that was a big reveal, and it's like, whatever. You got the guy tied up with your fucking initials carved in his chest, no matter what. I don't think it matters if he's a cop or not.
Yeah, the end game is all the same.
Yeah.
Nah, but I definitely, I don't know. I maybe this filmmaker just had a gripe and had a situation, or not the filmmaker, but the person who gave such a strong message of
Right.
had a situation happen to him, and he was like taking it out. But I think showcases both sides, because I don't know. I don't want to say maybe he got what he deserved at the end because we don't know enough about his backstory. But clearly he would, it's hard to say, I don't know how I really react if someone had tried to kill me and I'm like, you know,
Right.
the offense now, like, or the
Yeah.
defense. So
I
I
was
don't
kind of wondering
know,
he's really strongly motivated. If I were him, I wouldn't chase her. I would call the cops and get the fuck out of
yep.
Dodge. She's like, fuck it. I am tracking her down and murdering her. And it made me wonder at first. I was like, oh shit, maybe she cut his dick off or something like that. We don't know about. You know what I mean? Maybe it's something like crazy like that, but I don't think so. Like as I'm watching it, I'm like, no, it's pretty clear she just carved on his chest. But he snorts all that coke to wake himself up from the ketamine that he was doing earlier. So he's extra kind of crazed and he hasn't
Amped up.
slept in fucking 36 hours or whatever it is.
That is true. I forgot about that. Well, at that point, bro, because mind you, he was like, oh shit, I'm about to die, So for him to get that, and then, like you said, he's all amped up on this nose candy. So yeah, man, it can definitely skew some perspectives.
Totally. And just the lack of sleep, man. And the rage, and the pain, and everything. I don't know.
But I do agree with you. I was upset. This movie, I will give you credit because it's like at certain points your loyalty, I guess, is as a viewer is wavering between these two because it's like I want her to get away at certain points, but at the same time I'm like, dude, get that bitch.
Yeah.
Jesus, but I don't, I do kind of agree. Like, bro, you got her this far, and like you get taken out by a fucking bite of like how?
Yeah. It's just kind of quick. I don't know. It's cool. I hate to. There's like certain things that movies do that lead you up to a moment like that makes you feel like it's deserved. The way they're telling this out all out of order, like maybe screws with that. And it's also just like it feels almost more real because it's not like it was written. It's like, no, I didn't expect that to happen. He got bit in the neck and he died. So it's kind of cool also at the same time.
Yeah, it wasn't some action packed fight because it's like realistically, if they would have gone toe to toe, he probably would have won. So it's like it does, like you say, it makes it more real because he let his guard down, I guess, by thinking that I got you. You're chained up. There's nothing you can do. And she was the smarter one, I guess, this bigger victor.
I'm assuming this is about old boy getting his schlong chopped off. I'm sorry. It was just a thought. It's just a thought. All right, before we get into the substance, let us go ahead and rate Strange Darling out of 5. What do you got? Also, before we do that, maybe a different name could have done better. Like there's something about the marketing of this that like maybe Strange Darling. What the fuck does that mean? She is strange and she is maybe darling, like she's cute and everything, but weird title.
It is because just me remembering the trailer. I'm like, I was like, that's a solid trailer, but the name does. I don't know. I feel like the name should definitely insinuate what's. I guess you could. I don't know. Strange Darling is such a strange title, but I don't know. I don't know what you could have. What would you have? Any ideas? Would you like because I don't got
you. No, I don't know. But I don't know. Well, I'll ask AI later. I'll have them spit me out some options. But for now, we'll rate it.
All right. I was gonna say it almost sounds like it could be like some romance novel or sci-fi, like teen romance.
It looks like it's like sci-fi. Like maybe it's set in the future. From the cover with the pink hair, like it's set in some city in the future, right?
Yes. Damn. All right. For this review, I'm gonna try to realistically. I've been on a high. Let me be a little bit more realistic with these reviews. I not a perfect film, but for this to be like from these people not to have really been leads in other things, and this is like kind of like not that his first film he's directed, but his big break, and Giovanni Ribisi's coming in with the cinematography first timer. It's a lot of things to respect about this
film. Career defining movies for all 4 of those people. The 2 lead actors, cinematographer, and director, I feel like.
And we've seen cat and mouse games before, but this one has a certain twist that I just think makes it more captivating. I'm gonna give this one because I can't really think about anything I don't like, man. It's 4.5. I realistically it's probably like 4.25, but I love when a movie kind of catches me off guard and I'm like I'm not expecting anything of
Totally.
it, and this was a movie for me, like I was like, oh shit, because it kind of looked weird, really didn't know what to expect, so didn't expect much, but this movie knocked me out of my socks, man. And all that. Like I will be looking into any time the cow dude does something, I will be looking into
Oh,
his
for sure.
work on. The chick Ella will be looking into her. The director Giovanni Ribisi, I'm gonna make sure to keep an eye out for him for cinematography, because this he might need to take a break, because I think sometimes actors find that they're like Ben Affleck. I think is a better director than I think he is an actor. Good actor, but I think he's a better filmmaker, director, storyteller than he is an actor. Giovanni Ribisi, wonderful actor, but the fact that I was having such a hard time struggling to remember what he's been in, when I know he's been in a bunch of shit,
Right.
it's like he's a great actor, but I'm always going to remember his cinematography in Strange Darlings. Like he might
Right.
have that, like you said, he's worked with some classics, bro. Like James Cameron, like he's worked with enough great storytellers to have picked up on some stuff and
Right.
have his. So I'll give it 4.5, bro. I was really blown away by this film.
Hell yeah. I think I feel like I was at the end of my first watch, I was having a hard time finding anything to really dig at. Other than at the end, the kind of like there's something about the end that isn't super duper satisfying. But I was like a 4.75. Then the second watch, there was those moments that I felt like it dragged on a little bit long. But then again, it is weird to watch a movie like one day and then a couple days later to watch it again. So it's
Yeah,
and a movie like this that's kind of twist heavy, it's structure heavy. There's all these like cool things about it that could hurt a second watch, but I still really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna go right there with you. I'm gonna go 4.5 as well. Definitely, God, like it might be in my top 5 for films of the year. Like a
I love
flat
it.
out banger. So I'm not seeing a 4.5 as well from Rogue for Strange Darling. I'm
Only
not
one.
sure
Okay.
if
Okay.
anyone else has seen this bad boy. But hell yeah, a 4.5 for me, a 4.5 from you for Strange Darling. And we will jump into what is probably the most hyped up movie of the year so far, The Substance.